Hi, and welcome everybody to this recording today. I have invited Liliana Bellini from London to be my guest today. Welcome, Liliana.
Thank you. Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's lovely that you wanted to come. Liliana, she's working in London, and you are the founder of the Big Simple. Yeah.
Myself and two other people, Susan Mark and Louis Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, and you work in prisons, also in England.
I have.
You have.
Not anymore, but I did 4.5 years working for an organization called Beyond Recovery, which I had the pleasure of kind of working for and kind of being involved in that amazing project from the early days. And so I've done that with Jacqueline Hollows and the Beyond Recovery team.
Yeah, and I've had an interview with Jacqueline also in my channel. So I heard about the work in the prison. Well, that's lovely that you can wake up people to the innate health.
Yes, it was an amazing project, and it was a great kind of privilege and amazing learning as well about what we teach, about how universal it is and how no one is an exception. And so, in a place like that, it's easy to find exceptions to our natural, innate well-being. And so it was wonderful to have so much evidence of how nobody's an exception. But yeah, that's a big thing too. Big statement, but yes.
And I came across you when you were having a webinar, a weekend with a slice of happiness.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I call it that. And then I started to follow you on social media because you're an educator in the 3 principles area. And
I am.
That's something we both are going deeply with.
That's right.
Understanding. Yeah.
This is a beautiful conversation that very much looks in the direction of how we have within, direction of our innate natural health and well-being and resilience. So we are mental health educators, aren't we?
Yeah.
We very much talk about how healthy people are beyond their past, their stories, their circumstances, and what they think about themselves. There is so much, infinitely more to see that points to infinite potential for peace of mind and happiness. Yeah. So I love my work. I've been doing it for maybe 12 years now. And I think it's the best thing I've ever done in terms of, how I get to have conversations that help people to wake up to their own potential for happiness, and also kind of start to grasp and appreciate the power we all have to create an illusion that we are not that. We are this other kind of person that is broken or faulty or, in need to be fixed. So, I think, I love what I do because,
What a difference that makes to meet someone and look at the other person in that way, that there are a potential that everyone can come back to who they are and find that inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a big difference, because I earlier in life I always found people outside. They knew better than me. I didn't know. They didn't know, and I was always listen to everyone telling me how to live my life, how to do with things, and I didn't know who I was.
mm-hmm.
Deeply, and that made me very scared. I had a lot of fear. So I thought today's topic should be to be held back in life by fear.
Mm-hmm. I love this topic. Thank you for suggesting it. And I think I relate to that, especially how I used to live life, you know. And so I think I have a different understanding of what fear is now, through the understanding of the 3 principles that we talk about, but through understanding of this simple understanding of the mind, you know, how the mind works, and ultimately who we truly are, you know, beyond whatever we create with this amazing mind that we have. So fear is a big thing. I think if you're human, then you will relate to a conversation about fear and how it can hold us back. And it's interesting because fear, the fearful response to the outside is an inbuilt, instinctual, natural kind of ability we have, or we come with this inbuilt ability to perceive fearful things from the outside. And that's perfect, because, you know, we want to perceive as something if life is life-threatening, because we want to preserve our life and stay alive. So I think we are born with this amazing gift of picking up danger from the outside, all of us. And you know, instinctually we will go into a fight or flight response if we feel at risk, if we feel that our life is at risk. And thank God for that, you know, it's kind of perfect design. But somehow through thousands of years, we have learned to misuse it. So anything from the outside can be perceived as life-threatening now. And on a daily basis. And we might not be aware, but the physiology we get into on a daily basis is the physiology of fight or flight, which is like our life is in danger. And we live in that physiology, and we live in the experience that our life is in danger, even if that comes from mundane things, like maybe not doing well at work, or, you know, someone is very unkind to us, it speaks to us in a certain way, the boss, our partner, in our relationship, everything. We go into the physiology of life-threatening kind of circumstances. And obviously that's not good for our body, but imagine what it does to our mind as well, you know. So we want to keep ourselves safe. We want to live in a feeling of being safe, which is nice. So we constantly kind of try to either do something on change the outside, so that we can feel safe, or we just live kind of within the tight confinement and painful, frightening confinement of our mind. So, and then, oh gosh, I can think of so many times in the past when, you know, something came my way, an opportunity, and, you know, something, I was asked to do something, and I felt threatened, the same fear, you know, that anxiety and, you know, gosh, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if? And then I talked myself out of it. And I can give you examples. Like a little example is like, I remember in the 90s, I set up, because I was home with the kids, I set up this cookery school, okay? Private cookery lessons. And that took courage. Yeah. From the outside, it looked like, you know, I was being brave because I wasn't a chef. I was just self-taught. So I did it well, and I was successful for a few years, and, you know, I had many people. And then I got to a point when I could do it big. I could do it like, I don't know, on television, or, you know, I had a kind of a half of an offer opening up. And I kind of drew the line. I thought, oh, I was good at up to this point, but beyond that point, nah, it's not me. I'm not good enough. I'm not. What if I'm exposed? What if that suddenly felt almost life-threatening? You see how whatever happens, we've had the experience of something seriously dangerous, being exposed, being ridiculed, being rejected, being unloved. It feels like our life is in danger. So we pull back, we hold back, and we talk ourselves out of things. And then we convince ourselves, we come up with good reasons for not doing something. And I know, and from the outside, we might look brave or whatever. I've done things that in someone else's model of the world look brave, but I knew that I was drawing that line and I didn't want to cross it. So, so I think we can all relate to that. And in my own personal experience, fear kind of paralyzed me for a few times. A couple of times I was paralyzed by fear to a point of having a breakdown. And when I was in my mid-20s and again in my early 40s, and that was dark. I just didn't want to be here. There was paralyzing fear, again, fear. And in between these two breakdowns, I spent years of training and working and self-development and all these things, you know, and I thought I was doing okay, but then there was something that I couldn't quite grasp that wasn't really doing it for me. It wasn't sustaining the feeling of okayness. And I managed to crawl up. You were describing how it happened for you, but at the breakdown I had in my 40s, I didn't think I could come back. But somehow I did. And as I was coming out, I started to open up and understand my mind differently. And I started to also wake up to how beyond all that fear and all that darkness, I was still whole and intact, and I wasn't broken. I started to really see that through the understanding of the mind that we call the three principles. And I started to become interested in that part of me which was whole. It felt like, oh, wow, so there's something else about me that is not this fear, that is not this kind of coping with life. It's a different space within me which is safe, where I can be safe in spite of what's happening on the outside. Or so I became very interested in that. And also I started to see in real time in my life how, you know, all the feelings I was having and I didn't want to have were an incredible creation of my mind, and how that was also perfect. You know, just like the instinct we have to fight or flight when our life is in danger, that's a beautiful, perfect, self-preserving, appropriate instinct. We also have this incredible, you know, as humans, we come with gifts that we haven't got a clue about. You know, we come in order to experience a human experience us as human. We come with incredible gifts of thought. You know, we can think, we're thinkers. And because of it, we experience life through our thinking and through becoming conscious of our thoughts. So in actual fact, everything that we experience about life comes from us. 100% of the times. And when I saw that, I kind of paused. I reconsidered everything. So I stopped feeling so threatened by the outside. And I started to be curious and interested in the fact that it was all coming from me, from this gift of thought and consciousness. I thought, wow, so if I had that ability, then let's look at how it works. And let's look at how it plays out in life. When I'm in life and I feel scared, let's see what that is about from this other perspective. Every time I feel threatened, let's see what that is about. Is it really my boss? Is it really my partner? Is it really that the way I feel about myself, is it really coming from that, them, the world? And so what started to happen is that see, because there is a book actually in the 90s, I think it came out, which was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I think we all came across it at some point. And I think that is it. I love the whole kind of, because it kind of implies that as human beings, it's inevitable. We will feel scared at times. It's inevitable to have that. We will have any kind of feeling, which includes fear, of course. It's kind of a big one. So feel the fear and do it anyway almost invites us to, okay, accept that we will feel it, And how about we get on with it anyway? So it kind of made sense back then. But then I think there is more to see about that. Because with all the hundreds of people I worked with, so many had anxieties, fears, and that includes myself, by the way. And so many of them thought themselves as being insecure, as not being brave, or not being courageous. So if we tell them, if I told my younger self, feel the fear and do it anyway, I really liked the idea, but I might have thought, maybe not me. I'm too insecure, I'm too scared, I'm not brave enough. I'm not brave enough. So the thing is, something happens for those people who eventually get on with it and do it anyway. Something happens which is invisible and we overlook it. If we get on with it and do it anyway, we end up even enjoying it. It's because one thing happens. We have a change of mind. Our thinking changes about that thing. We shift to a different way of thinking about that thing that we didn't want to do. That is why we end up enjoying it and we end up actually getting on with it. Because in that moment, our thinking changes. And instead of saying, no, don't do it, we go, well, actually, you see, and that was invisible to me. And I didn't appreciate that getting on with life, even when we are scared, it's something that happens naturally when we see what is holding us back it's made of. Now, I don't want to be too cryptic, but like an example of this, when I was a little girl, I would go to bed and there was a coat hanger in my bedroom. And at nighttime, especially if something was hanging on it, it looked like it was a monster. So I would go to bed and really get into a panic, a fear. If I would wake up during the night and there was a shadow of the coat hanger, I would freak out. I would be very scared. And I would forget that that was a coat hanger. My thinking went into something else and created a monster out of a coat hanger. Okay. And there was no telling me. My mom would say, don't worry, there's no monster in the bedroom. So after a few years, the monster wasn't there anymore. I actually, it kind of really, it hit me that it was only a coat hanger. Somehow I stopped thinking that was a monster. And I thought, it doesn't make sense to be scared of coat hangers. And I didn't have that experience anymore. I didn't have to be brave about the coat hanger. I just realized that it wasn't a monster. So I think that something similar has happened to me and many people. I can still fall into the full-blown kind of creation of a monster, or a life threatening kind of thing. Oh, I'm not loved, they're rejecting me, or they think I'm silly, or whatever we come up with, But then I question it. I think, okay, what is that about? And why am I so scared? Why the thought of failure, for instance, feels like this massive deal? Where is that coming from? And And so many times I have in real time, I sober up, I wake up and I think, oh my God, look what I'm doing with this thing in my head. And what if I don't do that? So I become a bit curious. I think, oh, let me have a go. If I don't do that, then what happens? So I'm more willing to check that out. And I'm still very human, so I can still feel like, you know, the whole thing is compelling. It's so real, you know. At the moment, there is something big that I want to do. It's very big. It's like quite radical change in my life. And I would do it with my husband, but it would change our lives quite mine certainly. And so I'm observing what's happening around that, and I go into, oh my God, I'm stepping into the unknown. What if, you know?
Yeah.
What if, what? And then there's a long list of ifs and buts, and then my understanding of the mind comes to me, you know, and I pause and I step back, and I remember a couple of things that are so helpful. That one, and it's a big one for me, is that, so what if it doesn't turn out to be, you know, a success or whatever, and we have to change things again, and we have to change direction and start again or whatever? What if that happens? What is going to happen to me, to who I truly am, my own essence or whatever, you know? Nothing's going to happen to that. So I'm not going to be diminished, or nothing is going to be, you know, broken about me if it doesn't turn out to be a success. Yeah. So with the understanding of the mind that we explore, you and I, Cecilia, and many other people, there is this like gift of really kind of starting to love ourselves and see ourselves fully in our kind of glorious potential for, and wholeness as well. So there is no threat by anything to kind of end up diminished at that level. So I think, oh my God, and I feel like I'm really grounded into that most of the time. It's like a knowing that is sustaining me everywhere I go and whatever I do. There is this knowing, and we all are. And in exploring this understanding, we find evidence of that everywhere. That there is this other level, this other deeper level of wisdom and intelligence that is beyond everything, even beyond our little selves. So I think, okay, actually I feel quite safe, even if that thing I want to do feels a bit frightening. There is this other whole dimension and level of myself which is perfectly safe and will remain safe. So I can have that experience of fear, and at the same time I can feel grounded into my safe, beautiful self, you know. And so that is like, I'm a kind of a tree with really strong roots, so I can do whatever I want at the surface, outside, you know. Maybe one branch will break off and I lose my leaves and whatever, whether that is below surface. But then I'm still a really healthy tree at core with strong roots. And I never really felt that before this understanding, because it's like I came up with so many reasons that kind of said that I was an exception, and so were many other people, you know. And now I don't actually buy into that much. Even if I'm having a hard time, there is a sense that I'm really rooted in solid ground of my own natural resilience and wisdom. And so there's that happens when I'm thinking about doing this big thing, you know. And then there is an appreciation that there's always something invisible that is an invisible variant, you know. It's like, and it's thought, my God, one day I think about that big project and I'm scared, and one day I'm like completely open and happy to step into the unknown. What's changing? It's just the way I think about it. So can I really trust it? Because we have this, because we were born with this instinctual ability to keep ourselves safe, and then we overused it, you know, we misused it. You know, if there's something really that we should be worrying about, it will pop up. And if we are not overthinking the whole thing, we will be able to know instinctually, oh, this is not a good idea. So I think it is a misconception that fear can be overthinking our way to a decision. There's something useful in it. There's never anything useful in it, because we end up confused, scared, anxious, and then this connection we have with a deeper knowing that we do have it, all have it. You know, you can call it whatever you want, but, you know, it's like we all have instincts and or a kind of sense of guidance. You know, we're about to do something, but something says, oh, not a good idea, you know, and it's so quick and instinctual and not contaminated by our, you know, overthinking. And so I think the more something is important to us, and the more a situation is really kind of, yeah, we need to know what to do, the less we want to think about it. So when I think about this big change in my life and I overthink it, I know that's not, you know, I need a clear mind to know how to do it, what's the next step, you know, what not to do, what, you know, kind of how to handle it, manage it. And certainly a fearful state of mind is not going to help me. So, you know, what else about fear?
I can tell a little about what happened to me the last couple of months. I have been recorded a lot of episodes on this channel, and that has been lovely to do it, because I have so much to share about what I have been experienced with fear, and to be in that bad shape, and how it changed my life. And I really know that I I'm guided from the inside. I can feel that when I have this kind of loop down, I need to step back. And something was giving me that letters, that signs for a couple of months ago, that Cecilia, now it's the time for you to step back. And I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I must be awful. I'm not good enough. And all these messy thoughts was moving around and kind of hit me. and I felt very sad. But because have gone deeper with myself and recognized the signs that maybe this is time for me to have this pause, to not doing anything, I took a step back. And even if I felt afraid about my thoughts, I felt sad, I was crying a lot, and I felt that everything I do is, no one likes me, blah, 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 blah. I just left it. And it was so lovely that we got a puppy, a little dog, English bulldog, and I had a lot of things to do with the dog. So I could just leave the channel and everything just for a while and see what's coming up. And I had a lot of scary thoughts around it. What's going to happen next? Am I going to have these conversations again with people and share what I have seen? That we are not our thoughts. It's just a lot of emotions that hits us sometimes. But I left it, and I talked a lot with our friend Ylva, Liliana.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a lot, and she said, just rest, just rest. I think it's coming. I think it's coming. And one day, or I think it was 2 weeks ago, I got a message. Do you want to record with me now? And I just felt, I don't know, I felt a little scared, but go ahead. I do it anyway. Like you said, I do it anyway. Maybe I have had this rest. I don't know, but I try. I do it anyway. So I did. And after that, I have scheduled, I think, 4 people to talk with and share with. And now it feels better.
Mm.
And it was just the trust that moved everything.
Mm.
That I didn't feel that, I felt that I was wrong, but I didn't do anything about it. I just felt it, but I let it be, and waited to see maybe this will blow over, like the storm outside. Maybe it will blow over and it feels it doesn't feel like a problem anymore, because I know that if we are looking at the problems and all the things that doesn't work like we want to, it gets worse. So I didn't go that way. I just drop it and I also know that if it's meant to be, it will.
Beautiful. How lovely, and you explained it so well.
But we all people, even if we are grounded, have all these emotions, and fear can really bite you really hard.
Yeah.
And it feels like, oh, the whole body is in a tense. But it's also a sign for us to leave it.
Absolutely. And I love that you said it's a sign, because it makes me remember now in this moment. I remember that, you know, when we feel scared in that sense, and there's no real danger, you know, to our life, you know, life is not threatened, but we feel that, it's a sign of how we are using our mind in that moment. And it looks like so much more than that. It looks like, you know, it has everything to do with the outside anyway, with that, which we want to do, what people are going to think. It's all, it looks like it has everything to do with that, and nothing to do with us. Instead, it's like, it's just simply telling us what we're doing with our mind, and how maybe if we leave it alone, then we have the sense of something will come, something else will come. So how beautiful that you did that, kind of intuitively. Your wisdom kind of guided you to just leave it alone and see. And like I heard, there was a trust in that process.
So how can we share this trust? We can't give anyone what do you call it? Insight. You need to get the insight by yourself, but we know that we can lead people, we can walk with people, but the insight is something that suddenly one day you just realize that the symptoms, the emotions are just temporary, and I'm not those.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's not easy to wake up people when they believe that they need to do so many things because they are broken. They are anxious. They have anxious thought, and the anxious thought is telling them that you can't live anymore. You are not like the others. There's something wrong with you. How can we point people to trust that they are guided from the inside, and that if you are not feeding these thoughts all the time, the thoughts will think step by step.
I know. I mean, I've been having this conversation with hundreds of people over the last 12 years, so I feel you there with that question. And it is true that it's about having our own deep realizations of this. This is a becoming aware of something that's already true. It's already happening. It's already there within us and within everyone. So how do we become aware of this? Because we're not actually, we don't need to give anything to anyone. We don't even need to acquire for ourselves anything from anywhere. we are perfectly whole and designed to find it within ourselves through the power of insight. And guess what? We all are insightful beings. We have insights every day about something, maybe so small that we can't even recognize as an insight, a new, fresh thought, a way of doing something in a way that is easier, is better, it serves us better. We have small insights. So we have this gift of insight. We also come with that as human beings. And everybody does. And to me, the way I work is that I think, in my experience, the more I see it to be true for everyone, the more I relax about my own well-being and about their well-being. I relax. I'm not in a saving kind of the world mode, although I do want the world to wake up. It's my dream.
But people say to me, but how can that be that you can relax with that? Because people commit suicide.
No.
There are a lot of people that commit suicide. So
I know. I certainly have been in that state of mind myself, and we lost people very close through that years and years ago. And then I fell into deep fear that would happen to more of my loved ones, So I hear you, and for a long time I lived in that fear of losing someone else. And it really got me almost to lose myself through that, because I was so scared that something else would happen. So I hear you, and that's why I do the work I do, basically.
And I also lost my grandfather. He was very close to me. He committed suicide when I was 18 years old. And after that, when I get sad, I felt like if my grandfather chose to do like that, so when I had enough of things, I felt like then I can do so too. Mm-hmm. Because I loved him so much, and I thought that he was something to look up to. So I thought that if he did that, maybe it's the way you should do. And I also saw that when I was in the hospital, when I was had suicide thoughts, that there were a lot of people in the hospital that also had suicide thoughts, and they were talking to each other about this, that they were going to, and they were going to take this these drugs or whatever. They were going to jump out, whatever they were going to do. And when you put people together that don't have any insights or grounding and trust, you tell each other things that doesn't work for you. It's not good for you to be together with people that can't lift you up.
Well, that's why this conversation is so important. This conversation, as you know, can have incredible ripples because some, people listening to this might not hear much, and that's okay. But because we're pointing to facts about how the mind works, and how beyond that is a fact that there is a deeper wisdom that can guide us more wisely and more lovingly than this confusion that we have in our mind. There is something else going on. So if I think about how many people in this moment are seriously considering taking their own lives, I feel overwhelmed, and I feel very, very sad, because I know that's place. And my human compassionate self would want to save them all right now, and I can't. But I know that in this moment I can connect with my peaceful self and have a conversation from that place out of pure love and compassion. And I can do my best anyway, to talk about the little bit I understand about the mind, that has certainly saved me, and certainly saved hundreds of people I've come across. So I can continue to do this with the same level of love and commitment and gratitude for having seen it. And then I do know that this can reach people, not because I'm saying it, because I'm just a conduit, but because I'm pointing to something that is fundamentally true for everyone. And that's where the power comes from. It doesn't come from me, my human self. It comes from the power that is beyond, and the intelligence and the wisdom that is beyond me and beyond you and beyond them and within them. So I do think that this can reach wide and far, even in this small conversation that we are having in my little room and your little room. It can reach, because it comes from a pure place of love and truth.
And like you say, we have gone through it. We are the we show people that you can come through it
as well. We have lived-in experience. But even if we didn't have lived-in experience, because all the work I did in prison, I didn't have a clue about what it meant to be in prison. Little me from kind of a privileged background, middle-aged woman, whatever. And yet, because it's not about me, it's not about us and our amazing stories. Some of our stories are incredible. We're not taking away anything from what we've been through. It's not about us. It's about what we're pointing to. And that's far more powerful than us, than God. Because if we rely on our story and ourselves all the time, then we get a little bit in the way of that power that is beyond us and our story. But the stories is amazing, and people can think, oh, really? Did that really happen to you? And now you feel much better, or you feel happier? Or yes, it did. Because like I can have, like if I screw up big time and I make a big mistake, I have an old thought that comes to me. It's like, you are fool, you're not worth living, just kill yourself. Like, okay, it's like a brief thing that, and I, in one split second, I even see how I would do it. I promise you. And I'm completely, my life is completely different. And I'm like, I love life. I don't ever, I don't take that thought seriously. That's the difference. Mm. And it doesn't mean anything about who I am, how broken or unworthy. It doesn't. It's just a thought like any other. So if I was to take it seriously, maybe I would go into a suicidal state of mind. But I don't. I'm not interested in that crazy thought, because I know that I'm worthy of living, and so everyone else is, because the only thing that makes me think that I'm not is a bunch of ideas.
And when you are in that dark place, you feel separate from everyone else, and you feel like, but you don't know how I feel. I don't think no one feels the way I feel, because I'm so anxious that no one can feel this. So
Yeah.
you feel very separate from other humans, and you can't understand how they can have these horrible feelings, because it doesn't look like that. When you look at them, it doesn't look like that. But you got it, and no one understands. And that's so human. I have been there too. And
Yeah.
I can see that a lot of people that I also talk to, they share the same thing. They have gone through the same kind of thoughts. And it doesn't matter if they live in India or Africa or Sweden or London or wherever they are, they have the same kind of emotions and thinking that they are different. I'm the only one, and you are not.
I know. It's like, all we can see is that it's what we create in our, own bubble with our own thinking, and we can't. It's the most isolating state of mind to be in, because we become self-obsessed. It's all about us, and well, I think it's true. It's like, if we see beyond the illusory kind of nature of what we're creating, when we see thought, then it's like that bubble pops, and it's incredible how we can come out of it quite quickly, and that's why we can experience it all. If the thinking comes and we engage with it, we are in it. If the thinking comes, because it will quite inevitably, sometimes all kinds of thoughts come through in our river of thoughts. If we don't engage, it just moves. It's about appreciating the real kind of transient nature of every thought, any kind of thought, even the darkest. Is made of nothing. It's energy going through us. It's transient. So
And this is the difference between the traditional psychiatry that when you know who you are behind those thoughts, it transforms you. It doesn't say that you don't have bad feelings or circumstances that are complicated, but you don't need to do anything about the feelings. You just trust that it will going to move, and it can be lost. It can be difficult thing, but the trust that you got inside of you, that you always can come back, and you know that I lost my dog last year, and I felt like, oh, I can't move on. Every day was heavy in the beginning, but it felt better and better, and now I can just feel I'm happy for everything she gave us. I'm happy for that. She was 11 and a half years old. That's old for an English bulldog. So she was free to move on. But in the beginning, the first month, it was, oh, I can't move on. But we can.
We really can. We really can. It's
if we allowed us to. I cried every day, and I allowed myself to do it.
Feelings can't hurt us when we know where they come from, you know. It's like, and we have the gift of feeling everything. You know, it's like great that we can, you know. We can't, maybe we can't because of that, you know. And you're talking about, you know, I lost my dad 2 years ago. And this way of understanding life and the mind and even grief was incredible. Because my dad was, you know, I used to cry just thinking that I would lose him one day. And then when he went, it was such a graceful, beautiful, loving experience, painful experience to have. And do you know what I do sometimes? Maybe I'm cooking or I'm cleaning and I put all the Italian folk song and things that I used to dance with him, and or they take me back to my childhood, and I put them on and I really let myself to feel the whole thing fully. And maybe for a day I cry, you know, but it's such a beautiful feeling to experience, to have, to allow myself to feel fully without fear. There's no fear in me thinking, oh, you know, or regrets. And I could go into the thinking of regrets. So I should have done, I should have, you know. But it doesn't make sense, because when we are in regret, we are not in love. And I'd much rather be in love, you know, in the feeling of love. So it's so sweet to feel everything for my dad in those moments, you know. It's like I celebrate my dad, and it feels painful but so beautiful. So I think you know, I'm glad, I'm so grateful that I'm human, and I'm so grateful that I can appreciate my humanity without so much fear anymore, you know, so that I can have it all. We can have it all, the whole spectrum of human experiences, and that's a gift.
And nothing is wrong. We are not broken. We don't need any diagnosis.
It can be helpful to a certain extent, but then we want to go beyond.
If it's temporary.
Yeah. We are infinitely more than the labels that we are giving ourselves, or that we've been given. So let's get curious about what that is. Who are we beyond the diagnosis? And I can attempt to answer that, but I'll never fully cover it, and that's good.
Yeah, we have been talking a long session, so I think we stop here, Liliana, and I'm so thankful for this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
I'm very, very grateful. We really went into a beautiful feeling together. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming.